Starting calisthenics at age 36 gave me wrist injuries and I couldn't train properly for 6 months. I was forced to adopt these two critical wrist strengthening exercises into my program. And now at age 45, I'm pain-free and stronger than I've ever been. Wrist push-ups and first knuckle push-ups build incredible strength in the wrist. And these are the two exercises that took me from being someone who really couldn't put any weight on my hands to being able to do things like press to handstands and other cool calisthenics moves. And if you think about it, the most basic calisthenics move, a handstand, is something that puts so much pressure on the wrists, and I just wasn't prepared for it. I really didn't think that with all the training that I'd done in the past that I'd need to go through this whole period of wrist conditioning before I could handle just basic handstand practice of, getting up and doing 3, 4 or 5 sets of handstands a day. For the first knuckle push-up, we want to be aware of the position that our index fingers are in. That's the most important thing. So where your arms would sit just hanging beside you, that's the width of your arms, with your index finger facing forward like that, and then splay the rest of your fingers outward, externally rotate the upper arm and protract your shoulders. Now that we've got the arm position set up, we want to make sure that the shoulders stay depressed at all times. Don't let them elevate and shrug near the ears. And then you want to bring as much weight into your hands as you can. So when you're just learning how to do this, your hands will be closer to your knees, but as you get better, your hands will be further away, and it's a reflection of your strength. We want to get into a posterior pelvic tilt, lean the weight over your hands, and then you're going to push right up on those first knuckles and then come down with control, trying to keep your thumb off the ground. Now, it's very hard to keep your thumb completely off the ground, but we want to really avoid any weight going into the thumb. So we're constantly externally rotating the upper arm so that the elbow stays completely straight, pushing right up on the first knuckle and then controlling on the way down. And we're looking to make this movement isolated to the hands, to that first knuckle and wrist movement. So that's where the strength's coming from. You don't want your body rocking back and forward. You don't want to be moving in and out of that posterior pelvic tilt. And we're going to aim for a set of 15 repetitions. For the wrist push-ups, you want to make a proper fist where your fingers are curled in like this with your thumb on top. We're going to put those fists together and put them down on the ground with your forearms flat on the ground. Now for this one, you won't be as strong, so you'll need to have your hands closer to your body when you set up. But once you're set up, you don't want to lose that fist and you don't want the wrist, you don't want this part of the hand to ever come off the ground. So keep that fist clenched, keep that part of the hand in contact with the ground at all times. We're going to keep the shoulders depressed at all times, same as with the first knuckle push-ups, but this time we're not worried too much about whether your shoulders are in protraction or retraction, as long as they stay depressed. And what you want to do is push up as far as you can so that your elbows straighten. Now this is very hard for people. A lot of people, when they do this the first time, they can't straighten their elbows at all, and that's fine. You work the range of motion that you can control for 15 reps whilst keeping a full fist, keeping your fists touching and keeping your wrists flat on the ground. That's very important. And so you work that range of motion, and then in each session over the weeks and months, your flexibility and your range of motion and strength will increase, and eventually you'll be able to straighten your arms all the way like what I'm doing. And just make sure that when you go down, that your forearms go flat on the ground with your forearms in a relatively straight line to each other. And again, we're aiming for 15 repetitions. Most calisthenics pushing movements like a scapular push-up or a tuck planche and variations of both of them require you to have most, if not all, of your body weight on your hands, which puts a tremendous demand on the wrists. And the handstand is widely considered one of the entry-level movements to calisthenics, certainly for gymnastics. And the handstand, you absolutely have all of your body weight on your hands. And if you want to work into being able to do something like a press to handstand eventually, then you're going to need to have a good handstand. And the amount of volume that you need to put into handstand, most handstand programs have you training 5 or 6 days a week for around 5 sets, and you're looking for 1 minute per set. It's so much time putting weight into your hands. And if you look at our wrists just aren't designed to take all that weight. It's not, You look at the wrist and the arm compared to the ankle and the leg, we're not designed to go upside down on our hands, and that's okay. But you really need to condition them to be able to take this amount of load. When I started my calisthenics journey, one of the first movements that I was really working on was a straight line handstand. And pretty quickly, I developed a really nasty wrist injury that I just kept working around and trying to push through it. And eventually it got so bad that I couldn't put any weight in my hands at all. And I really wish that I knew these exercises and the importance of them back then so that I didn't have to go through that suffering. So for you to be able to avoid that, what I recommend is do these exercises every day. You do them right at the start of your workout, at the end of your warm-up, and you can do between 2 to 3 sets of 15 repetitions, 5 or 6 days a week, however many days a week that you're doing your calisthenics training. It's a really important level of conditioning that needs to be built up over time. It's not something that can be rushed, but it also acts as a really good warm-up for your calisthenics workout because it switches on all the muscles, it switches on your central nervous system, and it just gets you ready for the workout to come. And to ensure that you keep improving in calisthenics without getting injured, it's all about turning these weak links into your strengths. And we've just taken care of the wrists, but if you want to learn how to deal with your shoulders, make sure that you don't get any shoulder injuries, just click or tap the screen there and check out that video, which is going to really help you bulletproof those shoulders and make sure that you can keep progressing without getting any nasty shoulder injuries.